This is unfortunately not the video where I teach you how to cheat on the National Registry exam. This is test-taking strategies that actually work. All right, class. Today we're diving into something that doesn't come in your textbook. How to take the National Registry exam like a pro. Knowing the material is step one. Hopefully you've done lots of that. But you don't know how to take this test. It's probably a little different than what you're used to. You're fighting with one hand tied behind your back if you don't understand how this test works. And no one wants to be the person who says, "Well, I knew all the answers, I just took the test wrong." Let's change that. Or make sure it doesn't happen. First, know what you're up against. Understand how the National Registry exam is structured. It's computer adaptive, which means the test changes based on how well you're doing. If you've heard me say that in other videos, don't fast forward. It's always worth a reminder. It's a computer adaptive test. Answer a question correctly, the next one might be harder. Miss one, the difficulty of questions may drop. That's really interesting, right? It changes because it's designed to find your performance ceiling. You're not just being tested on facts. You're being tested on your ability to make fast, appropriate decisions under pressure. That's why pacing, confidence, and staying cool matter just as much as knowing the material. Also remember, you can't go back to questions. So once you click next, that question is gone forever. So every click counts. Make your decision, commit, move forward confidently. Next, you'll want to master the keywords. The NREMT loves to use sneaky little words that flip the meaning of a question. Some of the most common ones are things like most appropriate, first, best, least likely, or accept. These are not interchangeable. Most appropriate doesn't mean most correct. It means best for that moment. First means what comes before anything else. Least likely and accept are negative filters. They're looking for the odd one out. So what do? Slow down. Lock onto those words and let them guide you before you even look at the answer options. It's these type of words that will throw you off if you're reading too fast. So take a deep breath, read the question correctly, because going too fast and missing these words will cost you. As much as you can, use process of elimination if the answer isn't absolutely clear. The test isn't just about knowing what's right, it's about knowing what's definitely wrong too. Cross out anything that breaks protocol, skips safety checks, or solves a problem that hasn't really been identified for this patient yet. It helps you narrow down your choices and reduces that overwhelming feeling. So here's a good rule of thumb. If the answer choice skips airway management or scene safety, it's probably wrong, because those things have to come first. The NREMT loves layering realistic, sometimes confusing scenarios. But if you can train your brain to identify what can't be right, you'll be left with a much better shot at landing one of the ones you think might be correct. That said, don't overthink it. This isn't a trick test. There might be some tricky elements like those words that we talked about, but it's not designed to trick you. It's a test to make sure you can function under pressure and that you have a certain level of competency with the material. So don't invent details that aren't in the question or in this scenario. If they say the patient has a pulse, don't waste time checking one. If the patient isn't talking, don't assume they're unconscious. Stick to what's given. And don't create extra layers in your mind. What is that saying? If you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. At least that makes sense to most of us in the world where zebras aren't super common. Most wrong answers happen because students start second guessing themselves after identifying the correct one, or they think, well, maybe they meant, no, stop. They didn't mean. They meant exactly what was said in the question. Stay grounded in the question. Answer every question. If you didn't know this already, you can't go back. There's no review button. Once you hit next, it's done. It's gone forever. If you don't know the answer, take a smart guess based on elimination or your gut and keep moving. If you leave it blank, it's a guaranteed wrong answer. So don't. Make an educated guess, use the tools we taught you, and you might have a chance to get it right. Always guess over skipping. It's simply a numbers game. And lastly, manage your pace. You might only get 70 questions. And if so, kudos to you if you passed in 70 questions. You might get all 20 and still pass. Or you might get 70 and fail, and you might get 120 and fail. There's a lot of different combinations. There's no way to know how close you are to the end. So don't try to game the system based on your question count. That'll just mess with your head. Not helpful. If you're breezing through in 25 minutes, slow down. You're rushing. If you're stuck on every question for 2 entire minutes, you're definitely overthinking and wasting time. So practice. This is why we say practice the way you're going to play, because you want to aim for a calm, measured progress throughout the exam. Breathe. Read the question carefully. Choose. Move on. Sounds fairly simple now because we're not in a test environment, but these are things that you might want to remember when we're in the test environment. Use mental checkpoints. For example, pause and take a few deep breaths every 20 questions or so. Reset your brain. Do a quick little breathing exercise. Something. Check your pace and keep going. So what's next? All this video is here to do is to urge you to practice with strategy in mind. Your study time should look like your test day, meaning practicing in a quiet space, sitting at a desk, not in your bed or on a couch, using a timer to keep yourself on pace and limiting distractions. Unfortunately, no musics or phones off, like my phone that you probably just heard. Take full-length practice exams at least twice before your real test and do it in a scenario like this. Don't just look at what you got wrong. Actually sit down and try to understand why it was wrong and why the right answer was better. That's something I definitely urge to highlight in all of the videos. Explanations of why something might be wrong, because if you confidently chose an answer that was wrong and you don't understand why, I think it makes a difference on your likelihood to make that same mistake again. So use our YouTube practice question sets. We'll definitely put some in the description, and we'll be building more as time goes on. You can even mute the video and treat our practice question videos like a live quiz, pausing, answering the question, and then clicking play to let it go through. Maybe we'll even make a video that just asks the questions one at a time and waits to give you the answer at the end at a speed that should hopefully resemble a good speed for the National Registry exam. So look out for that. Review your explanations out loud to yourself. If it doesn't make sense, maybe it's not right. If it makes sense, don't second guess yourself. Reading it out loud, hearing it, sounding right, it reinforces your reasoning and builds confidence. So, just as a quick recap, test smart, not just hard. But you should also test hard too. Know the adaptive test format. Amount of questions you might get vary and may not indicate whether you're likely to pass or fail. Don't let that get to your head. You'll get an email in a reasonable amount of time letting you know if you passed or failed. That's what that email is for, not for you to guess while taking the exam. Look out for tricky keywords. Eliminate bad or unsafe options by process of elimination. Trust your EMT instincts. You've been in a class for a decent amount of time before you sit for the National Registry exam. You learned a lot of good things. Hopefully you took it seriously and you can trust your instincts. Always answer questions. Never skip. Even if you're not sure, give it a guess. Maintain steady, confident pacing. Simulate test conditions when you do practice exams, and review why answers are right or wrong. Truthfully, these strategies work, not because they guarantee you'll know every answer, but because they help you avoid the most common traps. Test day success comes from discipline, confidence, and consistency. Don't let anxiety or second guessing steal your passing score. In our other sessions, we're going to show you how to build your personal study game plan. From time blocking to flashcard apps and low-key memory hacks, it will all be there. We're also going to talk about how to keep your momentum going without burning out. So, here's a little discussion prompt for you. Answer this in the comments and let's see what other people have to say. What's your personal test-taking kryptonite? Is it timing, overthinking, second guessing, or nerves? Drop it in the comments and let's talk about it as a group. The more we learn from each other, the better we'll all perform. Hopefully this helps. Let us know what you think. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. This would be very useful to us as we're trying to rebuild this channel, updating all of our videos all at once with a lot of material. Ask questions in the comments if you have any and let us know what topics you think we should cover next. See you soon.